Greetings, friends. Welcome to Firefly in the Willow Yoga, and thank you for joining me for week 6 of this Yoga Foundation series. In today's class, we'll be practicing many of the same poses that we have over the last few weeks, but put together in some slightly different ways and with some slightly different focus. You'll only need one block for today's practice. So take a moment, gather what you need, and I'll see you on the mat. We'll begin today's practice standing in Tadasana. Allow yourself to find a nice stable position here, rolling the shoulders onto the back, allowing the hands to face forward, and bringing the ears back in line with the shoulders. You can close your eyes here if you like, or allow your gaze to lower down to the floor. And just allow yourself to drop into your feeling body here. Sensing the sensation of the air on your skin, the earth underneath your feet, maybe the feeling of openness across your chest. Take a deep breath here all the way down to the bottom of your belly, and then as you're exhaling, allow your shoulders to relax away from your ears just a little more. I'm going to jump right in from here today, so allowing your eyelids to flutter open. I invite you to inhale your arms up overhead and exhale, bringing your hands down through heart center and all the way down, coming into a forward fold. Allow your knees to be very bent here. Your belly can be resting on the top of your thighs. We'll inhale to rise up halfway, maybe taking your hands to your shins or the upper part of your thighs, and then exhale back into your forward fold. Inhale to come up all the way, arms reaching up overhead, and we'll come through these motions again, exhaling all the way down, forward fold, bending the knees, hands coming to the floor. Inhale up halfway, nice straight spine. Exhale, bow into your forward fold. Inhaling all the way up. Hands come to meet overhead. And exhaling once again all the way down. Opening up the back of the body. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, moving with ease here, allowing this to be easy movement. Inhale, all the way up to stand. Hands come to heart center. If you're standing at the center of your mat now, you can come on up to the top of the mat. Find your Tadasana again here at the top of the mat. Inhaling, bring your arms up overhead, maybe allowing your gaze to follow your hands if that feels good for you. Exhaling, hands come down through heart center, forward fold. And inhale brings us up halfway. And then exhaling, we're melting back down into this fold, planting both hands here and stepping the feet back, coming back into our downward facing dog. So rotating those upper arm bones forward, allowing the eyes of the elbows to point ahead of us. Finding a little pedal in the feet here, not being too concerned about how bent the knees are. Letting go of our judgments of what we're supposed to be doing in this pose and just feeling into it. We'll take a couple of deep breaths here together, inhaling all the way to the bottom of the lungs, exhaling, maybe through an open mouth. Once again, taking a deep inhale here. And then sighing it out through the open mouth. We're going to allow our knees to come down to the mat now as we come into our tabletop shape and begin to move through our cat-cow, dropping the belly as we inhale, rotating the tailbone up, exhaling, pressing away from the mat, spreading the shoulder blades apart from each other, and coming through this motion a few times with your own breath. After you've moved through your cat-cow 2 or 3 more times, just come and join me here in a stable tabletop. We'll bring the big toes together, allow the knees to come out wide, and then on your next exhale, sink the hips back toward the heels, really reaching out long through the fingertips. So notice here that my elbows are not bent and resting on the mat. My arms are reached out so far ahead that the bend has been taken out of my elbows. So there's an opposing movement here of the hips sinking back toward the heels and the fingertips really reaching out nice and long. Continuing with those nice deep breaths. One more breath here. And then allowing the palms to stay right where they are. We'll inhale to rise up, rolling the toes under in the back, and once again pressing the hips up toward the ceiling, downward facing dog. And find another little pedal here if you like. And then we'll allow the heels to come to stillness, taking the gaze toward the hands and walking the feet up toward the hands. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, releasing into our forward fold, low lie. And then inhaling all the way up to stand with a flat back. Hands coming to heart center. Just take a moment here for a deep breath, appreciating how it feels in the body just to have done those little simple motions. And then we'll allow the hands to relax back down next to the hips, and we're going to take a wide stance on the mat. So our wide stance should be about the same distance as our wrists are when we spread our arms out long. So if you wonder about how wide your feet should be, that's a good measure. We'll allow the hands to relax down now, and we're going to turn out through the right foot. Notice here that I have my block right here handy behind my right foot. I'm going to take my left foot now and I'm going to point the toes up toward the top left corner of the mat. And once you get here, I want you to take your hands and really rotate those upper thigh bones back. Imagine that you could just roll those thigh bones back. Find a little springiness in the knees here. And see if you can pick up your arches, really pressing out into the outside edges of your feet. From here, we're going to inhale the arms up halfway, and we're going to take this into our triangle pose. So focus here on really pulling this hip up underneath the body, imagining that you could tuck this hip inside, and notice how that shifts the hips out to the other side. Often we say bring those hips out to the side, but this time I really want you to focus on this tucking motion. Really reaching out with those fingertips. Nice big inhale here. And then as you're exhaling, allow that front hand to drop down to the shin or perhaps to the block, wherever you feel most comfortable here. And again, bring some awareness to those upper thigh bones, rotating out here. And that feeling of the lower rib cage extending up toward the ceiling. The gaze can be directly forward or up toward the thumb. Either way is fine. And we're going to take this into our extended side angle pose. So we'll inhale here, and as we're exhaling, just allow yourself to bend into that front knee. You might need to move your block just a little in order to give your body some space here. And then we'll take this top hand and we're going to windmill it up and around over the ear. Really reaching out nice and long here, pressing into the outside edge of that left foot, creating space between the lower rib cage and the top of the pelvis here. Breathing deeply into that left lung. And then as we're exhaling, we're going to allow this top hand to just sweep on around, coming to rest on the mat and bringing the right foot in between the hands as we come here into a low lunge. So you might sink those hips down, taking the gaze forward. And then we'll plant both hands, bringing the back foot forward just enough that we can really engage the heel with the floor here. And again, pressing into the outside edge of that back foot. From here, we'll inhale up, coming into Warrior One. We've been working on Warrior One in our past weeks. So really drawing that right hip back, pressing the left hip forward, hugging those thighs in towards each other, bending the knee right over the ankle. Big deep breath. And then as we're exhaling, we'll come up to stand at the top of the mat, bringing the hands to heart center. From here, we'll inhale, bringing the arms up overhead, and then exhale, bringing the hands down to the waistline. We're going to step back with that same foot, coming into a high lunge here. So the knees right over the ankle, pressing out through the heel in the back, up on the toe. Maybe inhaling the arms up overhead if you like. Breathing deep. And then we're going to pivot on that back foot, turning the heel down toward the mat. And notice how just that small motion already begins to turn the hips towards the front of the mat as we come into our Warrior Two pose. Holding here for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to allow that back hand to sweep back around as we come back into our high lunge. Taking that back foot forward just a couple of steps and extending through the front knee will allow the hands to swim around behind, grasping the elbows or bumping the fists here, opening the chest. Here's our pyramid pose. So as we're exhaling, lowering the center of the chest over the front foot. Extending long out of the pelvis here, nice straight spine, hugging those shoulder blades in towards each other. And then on our next inhale, bending into that front knee, inhaling the arms come up overhead. And as we're exhaling, we'll turn all 10 toes back towards the center and allow the arms to come back down. I'm going to take my block now and switch it over to the other side. So it'll be available there for me when I'm ready. And then we'll take our nice wide stance once again. We're going to turn out through the left toes this time, bringing those right toes in at an angle, coming up toward the top of the mat. And again, really pressing into the outside edges of the feet here, inhaling the arms up halfway and tucking this left hip underneath the body as we reach out long with that left hand. And then exhale, dropping the hand down to the block or to your shin. Finding this nice stacking of the arms from the wrist to the shoulder and the shoulder to the wrist. Rotating those lower ribs up toward the ceiling, rotating the thigh bones out. And now taking the gaze down toward the foot, we'll bend into that front knee, maybe adjusting the block if you need to, and take that upper arm and windmill it out over the ear, extended side angle. Really grounding down to the outside edge of that right foot, creating that space, creating that distance. Inhaling into that right lung. And then as we're exhaling, allowing that top hand to come down to the mat, moving the block out of the way. Exhaling as the hips come down, looking forward, low lunge. Planting both hands now, we'll step that back foot forward again, just enough so that the heel can come in contact with the mat. Foot still at a little bit of an angle here. And then hugging those upper thigh bones in towards each other. Inhale our way up, warrior one. Standing up long overhead. And then as we're exhaling, stepping back to the back of the mat. Taking a breath here. And then inhaling the hands back up overhead. Exhaling as we bring the hands down to the waistline. Taking a big step back with that right foot coming into a high lunge this time. Inhaling the arms up overhead if you like. And then pivoting on that back foot, allowing the heel to come in contact with the mat as we open up into our warrior two, making any adjustments that you need in order to make this pose most accessible for you. Maybe taking your gaze out over that front hand and still getting that feeling of rotating those upper thigh bones back. From here, we'll turn back into our high lunge pose. And then stepping the back foot forward just a bit, extending through that front leg. We'll exhale to bring the hands around behind. Take another big inhale here. And then exhale, extending that torso out long over the front leg. Taking the gaze to the big toe. Pressing the feet away from each other like we might tear the mat apart. Moving the shoulder blades towards each other. Sinking down from the center of the chest. Releasing the toes. And then when you're ready on your next inhale, bending into that front knee, sweeping the arms back up overhead as we come back into our warrior one. And then an exhale brings the back foot forward. Hands come to heart center. And take a breath. Great job. Those hands relax back down next to your sides, and we'll take a trip back up to the top of the mat. Rolling the shoulders onto the back here, opening the front of the body, coming back into our Tadasana, pressing into the outside edges of the feet like we might tear that mat apart in between the feet, and feeling how that engages all the muscles all the way up the legs and even into the abdomen as we relax the shoulders and hands next to the body. Feeling stable and secure here in our mountain pose, we'll inhale the arms up overhead and exhale coming back down into our forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, releasing into that fold, planting both hands, stepping the feet back, coming into downward facing dog, keeping the heels quiet and still this time, bending the knees as much as necessary, turning that tailbone up towards the ceiling, And then on our next exhale, we'll allow those knees to come out to the outer edges of the mat, sinking the hips back, child's pose. Deep breath here. And exhale. Inhaling now, we'll rise up from our child's pose. We're going to move those feet out to the side and come back to rest at the back of the mat. Extending our legs out long in front of us, coming into our Dandasana. Sitting up nice and straight here. And now we're going to take that left leg, bending at the knee and really pulling that left heel in as close to the body here as we can. If you need to make a little extra room for yourself, you can even bring that leg a little to the outside of the body here. So if you need to, you can use that left hand to hold on to the left knee here for just a moment as we inhale the right arm open wide, and then exhale, bringing that right arm around the left and swimming those left fingertips now around behind. My arms are a little shorter than my torso here, so I need to use my fingertips on the floor in order to make sure that I keep a nice straight spine. You can also bring a block along behind, or if your legs are long, your arms are long enough, you might be able to achieve this straight spine without fingertips or a block. Imagining here that as you inhale, you're growing just a little taller, and as you exhale, turning from the center of the chest. On your next inhale, allow yourself first to unwind the head and then to begin to unwind the rest of the body, extending the left leg out next to the right, maybe finding a little wiggle of the legs here. I'm going to repeat this Maricyasana pose on the other side, inhaling that right leg in this time, bringing the heel as close to the body as you can, holding on with that right arm if you need to, inhaling, left arm comes open, and then exhale, bringing that left arm around the right leg and swimming the right fingertips around behind. Again, growing nice and tall here, proud, pulling the left toes back towards the face. And as you're exhaling, maybe turning a little bit farther into this twist, only as far as is comfortable for your body. And then on your next inhale, allowing yourself to first unwind the head, and then allow the rest of the body to follow, maybe finding this little wiggle in the legs again. I'm going to turn to face you now so that you can see. We're going to come into Bharadvajasana. So for this pose, you want to bring the shin of one leg to rest in the arch of the other foot. So in this case, if you're facing me, you may have the shin of the left leg in the arch of the right foot. Once you find your way here, see if you can readjust so that those right sit bones are really connected to the mat here. And imagine yourself moving these left sit bones down towards the mat, even if they don't make the connection. Just allow yourself to energetically move those left sit bones down. From here, we're going to come into another twist. So take a nice big deep breath, and as you're twisting, turn toward the bent leg, bringing the fingertips of the other hand along behind. So I'm turned here toward the right leg. Turned toward the right leg, and the right arm is behind. Inhale to grow tall, sitting up nice and straight. You might even take that front hand and tuck it underneath the bottom leg. And then allow yourself to unwind. We'll bring the knees into the chest here for just a moment, maybe finding a little windshield wiper from side to side. And then we'll switch the legs to the other side so that now the left leg is tucked under and the right shin is resting in the arch of the left foot. Sitting up nice and tall here, energetically moving this hip down toward the floor. And then when you're ready, begin to twist, bringing the left fingertips around behind now as we turn toward the left leg. Nice, straight, tall, proud spine. And if you find you have quite a lot of distance between your hip and the floor on the other side, you can always bring a blanket or a pillow underneath that hip. Maybe you're able to find that tucking of the fingers underneath the leg here, palm facing forward and out. Sitting up nice and tall, twisting from the center of the chest, feeling the extension and the obliques. And then we'll slowly unwind here from our Bharadvajasana. I love the name of that pose. So come back to your seated position here on the mat. We're going to take the hands behind the bent knees and slowly help ourselves find our way down to the mat on our backs. We're going to bring the knees up to 90 degrees here, flexing the feet and really pressing that little curve of the back down into the mat. We'll allow our hands to interlace here and allow our pointer fingers to point directly above our knees. As we're inhaling, we're going to extend the right leg, dropping those fingertips over toward the left and lifting the upper body and shoulders up from the mat as we point out toward the left. Inhaling, we'll draw a semicircle over the legs, bringing the left leg in and extending the right leg out long now as we point the fingers toward the left. Just a little challenge for the abs here. Inhaling, drawing that half circle. Exhale, lift and extend. Inhale, draw that half circle. Exhale, lift and extend. And if the extension of the leg here feels like it's a little much for you, just allow yourself to draw this half circle, lifting as you come to each side. Find your breath. Inhaling as you draw that circle, exhale, lift and extend. 2 more here. And then bring those fingers back to center over the legs. Allow the shoulders and the upper body to relax down to the mat. And then bring the feet down to the mat, bringing the heels as close to the tail as we can as we set up for our bridge pose. Palms of the hands come down to the mat next to the hips. And on our next inhale, we'll lift the hips up from the mat, extending the chin up toward the ceiling and bringing the chest up to the chin. Exhale, release. As we inhale, bringing the hips up, the next time we're moving the thighs in towards each other like we're holding an invisible block in between our knees. And then exhaling, lowering down, 1 vertebra at a time. Slowly with control. Setting up for one last bridge here. Inhaling to bring the hips up. And maybe you like to walk the shoulder blades up underneath the back here. Maybe interlacing the hands. Lifting the chin towards the ceiling. Lifting the hips just a little more. Holding here. 3, 2, 1. And begin by slowly unlacing the fingers, walking the shoulder blades out from underneath the back, lowering the hips down slowly with control, and then bringing the knees into the chest, finding that little roll from side to side. From here, we'll open the arms up wide. We're going to allow the knees to fall over to one side. Excuse me, kitty cat. And then take the gaze over the opposite shoulder as we come into our final twist of the practice. I'm getting a visitor. On our next inhale, bringing the knees back into the chest. And then exhale, allowing the knees to fall over to the other side, taking the gaze over the opposite shoulder. Nothing like having a little kitty friend to do some yoga with. And their right thigh. And then when you're ready, bringing the knees back into the chest. Finding that little roll from side to side that feels so delicious on the lower back. And then we'll allow the knees to part as we reach through the bent knees, grasping the toes or the outsides of the feet, and taking just a moment here in happy baby. Maybe finding another little roll from side to side here if you like to have some motion in your happy baby. Take just a moment here to experiment with what it feels like to roll the tailbone down towards the mat when you're holding this shape. Feel how that brings the stretch into some different places in the body. And then we'll allow the big toes to come back to touch and use our hands behind the bent knees to slowly extend the feet out long as we come into our Shavasana. Take a deep breath here. Exhaling slowly. And just feeling the benefits of your practice in your body as you rest here for a few moments of stillness. If you have some extra time for your Shavasana today, I invite you to stay here for as long as you like. Or if it's time for you to end your practice, you can extend your arms out overhead, taking a nice full body stretch, then rolling to one side, relaxing your head on your arm for just a few moments. And then use your hands to press yourself up and join me in a seated position. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today to join me for this class. I hope that your yoga follows you off the mat.